everything you've said in these public statements is politics. I don't want women. I don't want moms. What's wrong with a mom, by the way? Once you have babies, you therefore are no longer able to be lethal. I mean, you're basically saying women, after they have children, can't ever serve in the military in a combat role. It's a silly thing to say.
Touchy subject, women in the military, right? We've clearly softened our standards for what you need to do to become infantry. I've been talking to people in military in my own life. The standards for everyone, period, have been lowered, which I think is a net negative for our readiness. But there is difference in standards between men and women. And I think women can be strategically used and serve admirably in the military. I think they tried to do a gotcha on how many women serve in the military.
I believe it's 18 to 20%, Senator.
It's almost 18%.
And many do a great job. He served with many of them himself. But the answer is we keep our standards high, we get rid of our quotas, and we have everyone meet the standards to serve the country. I don't know who could be against that.
I thought
a lot of people, unfortunately.
Yeah, he did a great job articulating the difference between equality and equity, and he did it a couple of times throughout the hearing.
As Secretary of Defense, will you support women continuing to have the opportunity to serve in combat roles?
My answer is yes, exactly the way that you caveated it. Yes, women will have access to ground combat roles, given the standards remain high, and we'll have a review to ensure the standards have not been eroded in any one of these cases. That'll be part of one of the first things we do at the Pentagon is reviewing that in a gender-neutral way, the standards, ensuring readiness and meritocracy is front and center.
Just saying that, like, look, we keep the same standards because when you're in combat, the rucksack weighs the same, the machine gun weighs the same. You have to run just as fast no matter who you are. And he's like, I don't care, race, gender, whatever, if you can meet the standard, but we're not going to lower the standards. Equity is different from equality. Equity is what we have right now, which is we have a certain quota we have to meet. So we're going to change standards to meet this quota. And it's not based on lethality. It's not based on readiness. It's based on ideological convictions that we have to have this amount of representation for this identity group. And what that does to military morale, I mean, a lot of us experience it in the corporate world, and it's deadening morale. Imagine that in a life and death situation. If you know that your leadership really doesn't care if you survive or not, they just want to make you the right color.
I don't sleep in tents in foreign countries where people try to shoot at me with my female coworkers. Like it's a lot different when it comes to life and death situations.
And again, I just hate ideology overall. I mean, that's like the mark of a true conservative is to be against ideology. So like, again, there's all sort of competing interests and things that we need to take into consideration as we try to move forward. Like you should look at the policy you have currently, and then if you want to make adjustments, like, you know what, maybe our military should be a little bit more inclusive to the idea of women participating. You know, this is obviously, a generation ago because we're already there. But like, common sense stuff like, hey, if we want women to serve in combat zones, but still maybe not on submarines because it's close quarters. And then if someone gets pregnant, nope, we're ideological. We just say yes to everything because it's like, well, how dare you think of situations different? Because they are different. Like that's what just frustrates me. And then you end up with the military today, which is, I have a whole family of warriors, my brother, my sister, my father, both my grandparents, tons of warriors. Okay. So I did not serve myself, but I have utmost respect for it. So I'm not saying this kind of stuff flippantly, but somewhat it's kind of a joke, okay, that we have in the military today. That's why we're having such a problem with recruitment. Like that's why I thought Hegseth was so on the money. He said, we won World War II with 7 4-star generals. Now think about World War II. It is a global war on 2 fronts. I mean, each of them would have been on their own would be considered a world war, but they're happening at the same time on the other sides of the planet. He said,
we won World War II with 7 4-star generals. Today we have 44 4-star generals. There's an inverse relationship between the size of staffs and victory on the battlefield. We don't need more bureaucracy at the top. We need more warfighters empowered at the bottom. So
this is insane.
Right. And I think that we being at the top, being the world power, for the last 18 years, we've been able to get away with that in a way that, we've had horrible events. I mean, we think of, Benghazi, we think of Afghanistan withdrawals, but for the most part, we've been able to cruise a little bit on our laurels, but we're running on those fumes now with the recruitment shows it, the numbers show it. I was watching the hearing
And like
thinking,
the Chinese Navy, like, hello,
right. We're running behind now. We have to get back to the actual purpose of a military, which is not what it's doing currently. And I think that, my thought watching the hearing, I'm watching Pete Hegseth up there, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, we're going to do equality, not equity. We're going to focus on lethality. Like if I was an 18-year-old kid watching that, I'd be like, I want to work for him. Like he plays the part. He had the articulation, and thank God he's repented of his former ways. Maybe that will also inspire the.
No, but I mean that seriously. Everything what you're saying, Erica, I agree with 100%, because I said to my 3 boys, after what we've experienced the last 4 years under Biden, I actively discouraged them from considering joining the military. And you have to understand, I mean, I'm talking a family of warriors. My great uncle was a prisoner of war for 3.5 years. I mean, like we were built to fight and to kill, and I respect that. But I'm like, look, if this, drag queen story hour on military bases, these guys dressed up in dog costumes for their publicity photos that are serving in the military in the uniform, wearing the weird kinky, like, no, not if that's what we're going to have. So what
Josh,
you say about Pete Hegseth, on the money.